here on Morning Prime. It is Thursday, the 24th of 2022, November. And I'm glad that you've chosen KTN as your channel of choice to inform you this morning. Today is a Connie Day where we take a critical analysis of what is happening on matters economy of a country. And we know what has been hogging the headlines lately has been GMO. But primarily want to focus as well on the borrowing spree that Kenya still continues apace, even with the new regime. We know there has been a good popping high figures that we've been, of course, awarded, not really awarded, but loaned by Afrexim Bank. And we have our president now in South Korea negotiating on a lot of issues regarding bilateral trade and also loans from South Korea as well. We shall be looking also on the supernormal profits from our banks and in comparison to what other jurisdictions are having as far as interest rates is concerned as well. They've been recording supernormal profits, even, of course, when we know the economy is performing poorly. If we head back as well to COVID-19, time when people were adversely affected by that as well, banks reported supernormal profits as well. So we have our professors, of course, and our economist here on the panel to take us through this. We have Professor Kituro Wanaina from the School of Business, University of Nairobi. Also is a immediate chair, former chair of Kenya School of Government. And we have Professor Exen Iraki as well from the School of Business, University of Nairobi. We'll be joined by Bill Okero, who is an economist and a politician. And also we'll be joined by James Murrell, who is the chair of Medium Small Enterprises Authority. And so we have a full packed show this morning to try and analyze what is happening economically here in the country. But before then, let me just give 1 or 2 minutes to the up and early here. Last time I think it was Exen Iraki who beat it to the punch, so I normally check who's checking in late.
Who's checking in?
Yeah, good morning, good to see you.
Morning, Diba, good to see you.
Yes.
Yeah, a very good morning actually with the rains, as the farmer to my left likes. And an opportunity to get it going. I talked with somebody, was it yesterday? I talked with somebody in Wajir. And the first question I asked her, is it raining there? She said, yes. But all the water is going away.
There was no harvesting of that water.
Right. So it was a very interesting comment which came from her, because in her you could see all this soil is going to waste. A week ago we were complaining. Happy that there is a private sector team led by Degwa from Safaricom. To look in that issue.
Yes.
I hope one of the things they can focus is how we can really get plenty of water and store it. The only thing I hope they would have put somebody from the public sector at a higher level, appears, so that it's moved faster in terms of the government bureaucracy. But a very good initiative, and it's full of the banks, KCB, Equity, all these banks, Family Bank. And I hope one of the things is mobilize the local resources needed for PPPs. So post what you just mentioned. I think we have an alternative and going all around looking for support financially. There's an alternative of public PPPs. And I think as a country, it's an area we need to leverage on. Even the domestic borrowing, we really can focus on that.
Domestic borrowing, PPP as well, that is the way to go. Exen Iraki?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Two things are in my mind this morning, beyond rain. One of them is Man U is on sale.
Yes.
And I see no reason why all the Kenyan fans cannot changa some money and buy Man U.
And have a stake at Man U.
It will be a national pride. So I think I can be a very good treasurer. We raise some money and we buy that. But something else is more disturbing to me, and that is Ukraine.
Yes.
The winter is setting. And Russia is destroying all the critical infrastructure, including that for power. And I was checking the temperatures in Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, on Saturday.
Yes.
The highest temperature was -3. It means that living in Kiev now, Kiev is much colder than, you are better off being in your fridge. It's much warmer there. So I've noted that Russia is using a strategy they have used for years. Napoleon could not win in Russia because of winter of 1812. Hitler could not win because of the same. And Russia seems to be using the same strategy, so that when winter comes, a lot of people might die in Ukraine because of cold. And I hope the world will do something about that. So spare a thought for the children of Ukraine.
We should. James Brewer has been missing in action lately. Good to see you. Welcome back. Yeah, you can tell us what has been happening, especially in the world of MSEA, the medium, small enterprises, and your authority as well, and also the stocks at NCPB as well. Do we have maize or not?
You're asking me to talk about the moon, the stars, and
everything all mixed up.
But thank you very much, Debal. Yes, I've been missing. I've been busy up and about. But just following through with what Prof was saying, I think this country, first of all, the world must now start focusing seriously on this war in Ukraine. It's about time. I mean, on a very, very serious scale, not just this support, military support that's going on. I think Russia must be brought to its senses, because it's a complete threat to the world order. So I think I agree with the sentiments expressed that we do need to have a serious conversation around the war in Ukraine. I mean, the shortages that we are seeing, Ukraine has been a great world food basket, and then continues to suffer under this barrage of attacks from Russia. But back to home situation. Yes, the much talked about Hustler Fund is finding its feet. I do not want to really comment seriously, because there is a lot that's going on. There is legislation that is about to be enacted in Parliament. There are regulations that have been gazetted. We are yet to see the rollout plan, but I'm hoping that somewhere along the line things will become clearer than they are right now. But suffice it to say, Debal, that Kenyans are going through a very difficult patch, very, very difficult patch in terms of inadequate food, uncertainty. You've seen now the situation in the courts again. The PSs can't be put in place, and the PSs play such a critical role that we have actually almost paralyzed this country. I do not understand what the good reason is for the courts to stop that process. If there was any wrongdoing, then they need to just specifically identify what is wrong, pluck it out. They talk about some people who are not gone through the vetting, identify them, remove them. Let's get the PSs into place so that the country can start moving. Remember, we are closing into the 100 days of this administration, and obviously the expectations are still very, very high. And while the president is working very hard and going about trying to help this country, I think the rest of the people must play along and show solidarity with what is going on. Kenyans are suffering right now. Whether we have enough grain or not, the truth is there is harvest, and there's been talk, Debal, about farmers hoarding maize and saying waiting for the prices to improve. Chances are the prices may go down while they are holding their maize. So I think the best thing is just to release the maize, save the country from all this pain of having to look around for food, and hope that when their day comes, they'll have the profits they want to make. But hoarding is the last thing that I would expect from these farmers. Yeah, so the country is going through a very lean state of affairs. I don't know. I'm hoping that There's also talk of GMOs, and last night there was a professor who was talking about this on TV, on JK Live, and really assuring people that while there's a lot of hype around GMOs, we've taken GMOs for the longest time, as far as I'm concerned. I lived outside this country. Most of the food there is GMO. The chicken that you see...
We shall come to it. We shall come to it. We shall come to it. All right, let's see what is fresh off the press this morning.
But Bala, I'm surprised you didn't tell us which team you're supporting in World Cup. That was important.
Well, we'll come to the World Cup in a few. Yeah, we'll come to the World Cup in a few and just comment on it. A lot of drama also happening on that global stage right now. Everyone, I think, is taking advantage. Yes, but I want to see what is fresh off the press this morning, beginning with the bold paper, so that a lot of issues that also we have a panelist talking about here, they're encapsulated there, and it will form a big chunk of our discussion today. We begin with the bold paper, the Standard, and this is what you're waking up to on the front page of the Standard this morning. It's all about the CBC. You know, of course, there's a task force that has been going around picking brains of Kenyans to just give their view on what is happening currently as far as making sure that this particular curriculum is being shaken into place. Inside Ruto's team, radical CBC, inside Ruto's team's radical CBC option is what we have as a splash there. If we may just pick it up and continue with it so that we may move along. Decision time. The Presidential Working Party on Education Reform is considering radical changes that could alter the 26333 competency-based curriculum to new 26243, which could see grade 6 learners remain in their present schools for another 2 years to ease transition challenges and address parents' age concern. That story is tucked away on page 3, and here are the proposals under consideration right now. Education system from 2633 to new one, 26243. Grade 6 to remain in present schools for 2 years as mentioned. Also possible introduction of separate school uniforms for junior secondary. Junior secondary to be taught high school content. And discussion underway on teacher utilization for junior secondary, also pre-primary and nursery school to take 2 years, age between 5 and 6 years. Primary school to take 6 years, children between 7 and 12. And moving on, we have also the Cherera fall in fight of their lives. They're feeling the heat for IBC commissioners who dissented with the chair and 2 other commissioners in August polls are battling for survival as House hearings for the removal starts today. Yesterday, Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera headed to court to seek more time to reply to the House petitions, and that story is on page 7 of the Standard this morning. Also on the sidebar, Mudavadi stamps authority as senior most Western leader. Here is what he says: I want to start talking and engaging each other from all fronts. I want you to know I am free and available for you. As we said during the campaigns, this is an open government as such. Let us be free with each other. That story continues on page 4 of the Standard this morning. Also inside today, remember every Thursday, shipping and logistics pull-out magazine comes in handy for you. Also the real estate as well. Grab a copy to get all the wiser on what is happening in those sectors this morning. Looking on the flagger on top here, not really the flagger, but the teaser. Maize, Ruto allies split on plan to impeach Courier, and that story is tucked on page 6. Also MPs calls for probe into 17 billion shillings payout. Another big upset as Japan stops Germany. Right, it seems the underdogs right now, they're upsetting the big ones as well in Qatar. That story continues on page 48 of the Standard this morning. Grab your copy. That's how it looks. Also, we have the Daily Nation. Kenya stares at athletics ban, right? This is a splash today. Kenya stares at athletics ban. This goes to show on our nobility of character, even on the sports arena as it is right now. That is debatable, that it seems the clammy hands of corruption are perpetrating every sphere of our lives, and this is compromising even where we've been shining for the longest time. Now, will that really bloat our copybook as a country that has been, of course, right, making sure that we present the finest as far as athletics is concerned? David Rudisha has just resigned. Will we be happy to know that after breaking all those wild records, Kenya stands and stares to be actually banned from the athletics scene? The government last night declared zero tolerance to doping, with top sports officials racing against time to wiggle the country out of a looming ban against its athletes, I should say, in international competitions over the rising cases of doping. And this story is tucked on page 2 and 3 of the Daily Nation this morning. A very interesting expose also was done by our sports reporter there, Moses. He's here on that, and that revelation on what is really happening with the doping and some of these athletes was really, really heart-wrenching. You can follow that from our YouTube channel to just get a glimpse of what this doping is all about. 27, the number of Kenya's athletes who have violated anti-doping rules this year. The number of elite athletes who have been flagged for violating various anti-doping rules has been on the surge. Grim picture: Kenya is currently designated under Category A by World Anti-Doping Agency WADA, which denotes a country with the highest prevalence of doping. World Athletics and Athletics Integrity Unit are scheduled to meet in Monte Carlo, Monaco tomorrow to review the state of doping across the globe, with focus on Kenya. Russia is currently facing a global sporting ban owing to state-sponsored doping that was unearthed in 2016 by a former head of the Russian nation anti-doping laboratory. And you can follow that story. Do we stand a chance to sail through tomorrow when this meeting is happening in Monaco? Well, we eagerly waiting to see what will happen, and our panelists will just tell us what is really happening in this country, especially when we talk about national values, culture, integrity.
Right.
It is everywhere. Right, this is the Star. Musalia raiding Raila's tough, goes for MPs. This is a strategy there. Odinga's long-held political influence in the region could suffer a big blow. Mudavidi's move seen as part of consolidating the Western vote for the future. And this story is on page 4 and 5. And looks like we have a family photo here. And this is Musalia Mudavadi. Why are you laughing?
Family photo.
It's a family photo here. This is how we congregated, especially
He has a lot of
with
children.
extended families as well. All right. This is the family, Mudavadi's family. And we can see a lot of them that also on Jubilee Party have crossed over to where he is right now. Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, after a consultative breakfast meeting with parliamentarians from Western in Nairobi yesterday. So we've yet to know if there are any declarations that there has been some, of course, party hopping lately. This is what is on the front page of the Star this morning. We continue pace. Let's see what we have on top here as a flag. Akitani appeals marriage verdict against Linturi over Runda home. That story on page 2 of the Star this morning. People Daily, Ruto faces revolt in his tough on Maize. GMO saga, leaders and farmers in the president's backyard gang up to oppose planned importation of grains, arguing that the government should instead buy from local growers in a rare rebellion from his traditional political base. This story tucked on page 4 of the People Daily. Also, KFA director, he says, quote unquote, the government should be sensitive to the plight of the local farmers and suspend the planned importation until the local produce is exhausted. Follow it on page 4 of the People Daily. Also, rebels within, Samson Cherargei, Ken Lusaka, Didmas Baraza, Abraham Kirua. These are people who are protesting the importation of the GMO maize in the country. Parents' headache over long holiday. Schools release learners home for 2 months, unlike the past when they have taken short breaks to cover time lost to the COVID-19 pandemic. Right, so prepare for the camps and for the VBS, right? That is a vocational Bible study as well, to make sure you keep your children at home busy. Kinoti men shuffled in major purge. Perceived allies of former DCI chief moved to stations outside Nairobi in shake-up. You can follow the story on page 2 of the People Daily this morning. Buckle down to some business And Bill Gates backed fund sells 1 billion shilling stake in Kenya clinics. That is a splash on the front page of the Business Daily today. A US-based private equity fund that is backed by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the International Finance Corporation is selling its stake in Nairobi's Metropolitan and London Hospital in a deal valued at 1 billion shillings. You can follow the story on page 2 of the Business Daily. Kenya to replicate South Korea growth model. Remember, the president is there, and we shall also be discussing this. What are some of the wins or the win-wins we've had, especially on the balance of trade with South Korea as it is. He has been imploring the parliament of South Korea to make sure that that is corrected, where we have a trade imbalance with South Korea. Kenya is eyeing to replicate the South Korean economic model in a bid to spur growth and create jobs via boosting key sectors. The two countries yesterday signed deals that will see the latter transfer agricultural technology and its vast ICT know-how to Kenya, right? That is the home of the Samsung, but they call it Samsung. Samsung. So all of you having Samsung, some of you.
No, that's not a phone.
It's not an English name, it's a Korean name.
Yes, so it's supposed to be Samsung. That is what we have on the front page of the Business Daily. Financial Times is here. Let's see what we have on the front page of Financial Times. And business and unions demand Sunak scraps planned bonfire of EU rules. Now, on the World Cup scene, there was a very interesting also gesture there that we saw from the German team. If you may look there, what the German team was doing. Silent protest. You can see they had their mouths cupped there by their hands. And it says here that the Germans' national football team covered their mouths ahead of their first World Cup game yesterday in what appeared to be a protest against FIFA. FIFA's decision to ban armbands supporting diversity. The captains of 7 European teams had said they would wear One Love rainbow-themed armbands during their matches in Qatar, a country where homosexuality is illegal, but FIFA warned players that they will receive yellow cards for wearing unapproved armbands. The German government also expressed disappointment at the decision by football's global governing body, saying the rights of the LGBT plus community were not negotiable. Germany went on to lose the match 2-1 to Japan, a shock result against a team ranked 13 places lower in the FIFA rankings. So surprises there, but more primarily, they're saying this is non-negotiable. This is how they're protesting. Iraqi, you're the one who was talking about football. You can comment on this as well. And how this is gaining traction on it's really been very prominent on that particular platform lately.
When the World Cup started, I wrote it was about football, looking for the best team, hoping that there will be out of entertainment, but there has been a lot of digression from football to other issues, diversity. And I like the way people are using the very diplomatic language, diversity. Is it gender diversity? Is it rural diversity? What diversity are they referring to? And I think you can see the issue of LGBTQ.
Plus.
You
know, you've always wondered what that plus is, that this is a growing community.
You tell us about it.
So plus something else will be added on to it. It's transgender.
It might not be a big issue in Kenya, but
yes,
in the Western countries, it's a very big issue. And you can see a very global forum is being used to play out that issue. And I think this is not yet. I see it progressing up to the end of this match. But I think it should not divert us from the sweetness of football, which, for example, is having Argentina being beaten, Germany being beaten, which I'm very excited about because I always sympathize with underdogs. It's also embarrassing to have a team being beaten 7-1 or 7-0, Costa Rica. What are they doing there? But
that's not as bad as DRC.
I should not talk a lot because Kenya is not there. And by the way, so far I've not watched any World Cup. I promised you last week I'm not going to watch any World Cup until Kenya appears there. And I've kept my promise.
But you have been following it now.
I'm not following, I'm just hearing that from rumors.
No, you're happy.
Come on,
That is from rumors. Not from watches.
You're just covering your head.
No. I'm very sincere about watching the World Cup. Yes.
You're following quietly behind the tent.
Following quietly.
No, I'm not.
But is that trenched by the fact that Manu is being sold? He's also Cristiano Ronaldo, right?
Yes.
Cristiano Ronaldo,
We'll see
you
how
know,
he performs
the spat that
in
he's
Portugal,
been having with the management, and now he's actually also off. Manu is buckling down.
But Deborah, I don't know why you are not following my suggestion that we buy Manu. I'm very serious. It's on sale.
Do we still have a caretaker committee with the FKF?
We buy
We can have a special, like SMEs have a
I think the caretaker committee also
When
would
did you
have.
take-
We
when
need
did
to
you
organize
take
our
for
football
breakfast
before we even consider buying Manu.
Right.
Yes, Prof.
I don't know much about football. And,
Maybe we shall come up with a thesis from you. One of the students who, considering buying Manu, how could we help Manu?
I'm more of a tennis and more civilized games and and squash
I think you need to grow up.
and golf.
Even play golf, I can confess.
But having said that, Sibia, welcome. This guy is being unkind to welcome you.
If you find these people who normally say they don't play football, they're the guys who got inferior, and during those in the heydays when we were growing up, you're not selected to the teams, right? So,
But I think
we had the strong boys who were given the chance who could play football. So they've grown up hating football.
I was number 7.
You were number 7 then.
Yes.
there is a very interesting article, I can't remember, by the UN, Sports and Politics, Sports and the Nation. I'm not concerned. I'm really not a surprise to see football coming in terms of that. It's actually a platform really to preach the agenda. And I think even in Qatar, this thing about gays and whatever, I think FIFA is more protecting the players from the community. Because the community can really reach you in terms of that. So it's more protecting them from the community than that. And I think it's important. Yesterday I had a very interesting, every class we finish, we have a statement which makes us grow. And yesterday, one of the students say, culture, i.e. integrity and all that, eat strategy at breakfast. Very powerful statement. So it's not just that strategy. Culture
strategy for breakfast,
very important. So culture eats strategy at breakfast.
For breakfast.
For breakfast. And what I'm seeing here people doing is to really demonstrate that it's a part of us. And I think the government and even the people there are protecting. However, issues like where Qatar and the FIFA had gone into contract, like beer selling, those areas is haram. I think that should have been not gone in. It's like we went to this football without appreciating and realizing what culture we have there. You know, there's a mismatch there.
Is that really the case? I think this is just like raising the middle finger to the culture at Middle East, that we don't really care a fig and about your culture. They are fully aware about it. If they say this is non-negotiable, then why do you even sign up for the World Cup in Qatar?
Correct.
If you say this is non-negotiable, and this, you have to respect.
And
even
even
we've drawn our lines as well.
I've never seen the president of FIFA come so strongly. He talks for about 4 or 5 minutes, but this time he's talked for 30 minutes. And I think the West also has to be a bit civil. You can't start lecturing us on this kind of thing of gays and lesbians. To us, it's a foreign down.
All right, let's welcome Bill Okero just to hear his sentiments. Bill, I know you have a team. Declare so that we can be following.
He's eyeing Manu to buy.
Supporting the underdogs always, but I've always been pro the Brazilians, those guys up there. I always think there are people who have made football their life, put it in their flags. It's part of their life. So those are the guys I think especially Brazil. But let's hope and see what happens. But I agree with my colleagues. The West, there's a lot of duplicity. If it's your culture, they don't want to hear about it.
Right.
If it is their cultures or what they call their values, they want to push it down your throat. And I think I like the way Qatar stood up really and told them you can get lost. It's our values and no other values in our country. In your country, you do the same thing. They tell you about human rights, and they're just being told.
Diversity.
It happened in China. It's the same. Those things are not allowed. The human rights situation in China and Russia, they don't have a problem with those ones. But if it is these countries, small countries, particularly Muslim countries and these other small third world countries, and it's happening to everyone, by the way. With the first interview CNN gave to our president, when he was sworn in, was about these gay things. You support it. When Obama's first trip ever to Kenya and his meeting with President Ruto is the first, do you support it? It's becoming, for them, anybody from third world or these developing countries, this is our values, you must buy it. So you must accept their evil things, you must accept their ways of life, which are not acceptable to the rest of the world. But so I'm glad this little country is, Qatar is a small country. But I mean, I've told them, my friends, you go by our rules or you can get lost. And they have to comply. Yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah. James Breu, let's talk about the underdogs. I think Saudi Arabia, when they beat Argentina, they couldn't believe it. Actually, there was a holiday.
This is the first. There was a
next day there was a holiday.
Yesterday,
for Saudi Arabia.
Give it to the Saudis.
Give it to them.
Very well. They played very well. I watched that game. It was very exciting.
I see Argentina winning the cup at the end of that. This is the first round.
No, it's Germany, but Germany starts slowly and picks. It's like the Rolling Stone. They pick up as they go. They will definitely be in the finals. Germans never miss.
You don't believe the surprises? New people coming up.
Those boys, when you're. This World Cup is like a marathon. It's not a sprint. Yeah? When you start fast, you don't end up thinking. But there's a good conversation that's going on about these teams. They stand up to these issues that have arisen in Qatar, right? And I think the world must now start paying attention to the values that every country holds. I mean, you cannot come and lord over a country that has, you're a visitor. And for heaven's sake, do what the visitor says. You're in my house, and these are the things, the do's and the don'ts. You cannot come and set up street carnivals and have all manner of behavior when this is not the culture of this country. And I think that's where the West must then now be told, please behave yourselves. You are visitors here. Behave like visitors. I think this is it. And I like what Bilo has said. It's about time people stood up to what they stand for, not just being swept and being told do it our way or the highway.
Excellent, Iraqi.
Like the ball, we are skirting a very important issue. Why is Kenya not in World Cup? I can see Cameroon there, I can see Ghana there, I can see Tunisia there. And when we start in Africa, we say, I don't know, we are the fourth biggest economy. So why is Kenya not in World Cup?
It's not football.
I've always argued that we win marathon, which is 42 kilometers. When you play a game of football 90 minutes, it's about 10 kilometers. So we should be the best people in winning that football.
I think you have to bring. I think Iraqi, you have to bring this point. If you look football, and I think there's something in this country. When you have team work, if you have a team, it doesn't work. Marathon is very different. It's me as an individual.
Are you think we are selfish?
I think Kenya, we are not cohesive.
No.
In terms, if you look things like where we have football, group sports.
But we have pace setters in marathon. So that is teamwork.
It's very different. It's me as an
no.
individual.
The argument, Prof. Yabri is like the one of the late President Jomo Kenyatta. When Kenya lost football, he said, Kipchoge alikuwa wapi?
But
let me tell you, the truth is,
that's true.
The truth is, everyone has a talent. There are countries where you find football just flies. Go to the South American countries. Every little boy can, but they can't run.
But the same people who bet over Man U and Arsenal. Why can't we play the game?
But we had Kenya, also on the high pedestal as far as football is concerned. If we hark back into the history of, AFC and Gor Mahia and how
we are not answering this question. The question is, if you can run, means you are a sporting nation. Kenya is recognized as a sporting nation. Why are you not doing well in football? It's the management. Simple. I think the issue is...
So we want to try all these runners. Why could Kipchoge play them into footballers?
No, that's not the point. The point is, if you have a sporting nation, people who are good in running and all that, you would also expect that there would be people who are very keen on football. And there, by the way, the only thing is that football has been mismanaged as an industry in this country for a long time. We have not been able to get it right. How the athletics guys managed to get away, but in every other, in cricket there's a problem, in soccer there's a problem, in basketball you hear about problem, in rugby, every one of them you hear about. So our problem is management. We've seen what is happening every time. Even a small match here to happen. FIFA is shutting down every other year.
Actually, if you look at, just to follow on that, if you look at our local teams here, when they win, there is chaos. When they lose, there is chaos. That is where our problem starts from. If you look at a country, and I want to agree with the Prof now a bit, if you look at a country like Australia, they are good in all sports because they have good sports managers. They are there in football, they are there in athletics, they are there in cricket, they are there in hockey, they are there, every sport they are there. So I think it boils down to management.
And we were. In those days, we were.
We used to be, used to be hockey, volleyball, athletics.
Soccer, Eastern Central Africa, we were champions.
Yes, now we are beaten by small...
We were very close to Africa Cup one time or the other.
That's it.
But the management
is poor. And about if you look at the proportion of Kenyan population that is young, that can play football, it's probably higher than Germany. We are a very young nation, a lot of talents. So I agree with them, we just need to manage our talents and we shall be in World Cup, hopefully by 2026.
Right. But of course, as we've seen the flash, the rising flash of the African players also, or the World Cup scene, and even in some of these European nations as well. It is not really that Africa is not the bedrock of talent as far as football is concerned. We've got many here. It's not that, it's just because we're not putting our house in order. As it is, as you just say, the mismanagement, because we were there before. And as I'm mentioning, we hosted the All-African Games here. We had Harambee Stars and Egypt playing in the finals. I think we can go back to that glory. Anyway, let's just wind up on that. You can see this is how it went down for Saudi Arabia. Who couldn't believe it? I just want to show this picture that we had it on New York Times. And it says Saudi Arabia defeat the Argentina. Defeat of Argentina at the World Cup on Tuesday was the sort of upset almost nobody in the global soccer had seen coming. An outcome that ranks as one of the greatest shocks in the tournament's 92-year history. Nobody was more surprised, though, than the Saudis themselves. The country had won only one game at the World Cup since 1998. Unlike the World Cup's traditional powers, it does not call on stars from the major leagues of Western Europe to join its squad. Its players are drawn instead from the country's lightly regarded but well-supported domestic league. And the Saudis had started the tournament with the longest odds in the field, 1,000 to 1. After the victory, Saudi Arabia declared a national holiday for Wednesday. But even before the game, government employees had been given the day off, and many private businesses had shuttered. Crowds gathered by the hundreds to watch on giant video screens at specially planned public viewing, holding their hands to their faces in disbelief as Saudis overturned Argentina's early lead, and then jabbing their fists into the air after the game winning goal. Cheers were heard not only in the Saudi Arabia but across the Arab world, which until Tuesday had not seen any Arab country win a game at this tournament, the first World Cup in Middle East. There were public celebrations in Egypt, Jordan, and even among the Houthis in Yemen, against whom a Saudi-led coalition is waging a brutal war. I like that because this is now a confluence of, support even from your enemies as well.
Yes. All of them have drawn. The rest have all drawn up Morocco, Tunisia, so far.
Indeed. All right, let's come back home and we look at what is happening in the dailies as well. And I want us just to focus on also the editorial cartoons. First of all, we have it in the Standard, and this is just talking to what everyone has been speaking about. And Ruto now, not Ruto, but Moses Kuria, has gone to a councillor here. So he's seeking some consultation from a shrink, according to Gado today. If you look at page 16 of the Standard this morning, if you may just put it in full, it would be nice. And it says, Mr. Kuria Where's the standard today?
This is the standard, eh?
It says, Mr. Kuria,
814.
it appears you have a genetically modified brain, GMB, that compromises your thinking capacity. Wow. Right? Page 14. This is Moses Kuria as well, and you can see him sitting there. And of course, this is in relation to what has been happening as far as the GMO debate is concerned. And that is also the splash that we have in most of the dailies. We've been having in most of the dailies as well from yesterday. But putting an economic sense to what is happening currently, and I think this is what has been drawn by also Stano in the People Daily. I'm about to chew more than I can bite, and you can see Moses Kuria there on a stove, and also other dailies as well. This is the IBC. We shall be discussing that much later. But Bilo Kero, from that particular point of view, does it make any economic sense, first of all, that this would be happening?
You know what happens traditionally, and which is what today vindicated. Some of us have been talking about it by the Minister for Agriculture. What used to happen is that it is the Ministry for Agriculture that carries out an assessment on the expected harvest for the season. And when they anticipate a deficit, then they would advise Cabinet. And the Cabinet would then start a process of importing. This time, the Ministry of Agriculture has said we are not aware of this plan to import. We have not even carried out the assessment on what the harvest should be. So they are not aware. 2, we have been told by Parliament, Cabinet has not approved it. And 3, the farmers and all the leaders from the farming areas are saying we're having a bumper harvest. So where is the shortage? Mm-hmm. But more importantly, I think for me, which is the main issue is about the GMO, really, more than even the import. Mm-hmm. But the GMO is, what is the issue? Is it that there's a shortage of the organic maize that we cannot export? For example, we have always exported it from this Comesa or, countries, regional countries around here, from Mozambique all the way to Uganda, and even sometimes all these countries around here. Is it that there's a shortage of that organic maize and that we have to now go for this thing? What exactly is the issue? It's not clear why we've suddenly decided that, no, we want that particular maize from that country. So economically, it doesn't make sense because you do not start shutting down or destroying your farms when they have just done a bump harvest and they're saying the cereal board is shut down, they have no money to buy. The strategic grain reserves have been shut down more than 5 years ago. And the last time they bought any maize was before 2017 election. It's moribund entity. So who is going to buy? If you are a farmer of maize today in Kenya, say like Italy, those countries, who are your customers? Millers, number one. The miller is only going to buy on weekly, monthly basis based on his demand. He's not going to keep a strategic reserve for his plant because of the financial cost. So normally one would have expected the second customer is the government. The government would buy, and that's why the cereals board is there. That's why strategic grain reserve is there, and the government is not buying. So instead of buying, government now says we want to import. Mm-hmm. So I think this whole thing is complaint. You can see the chaos even in Parliament. Some of the leaders of these parties that support the government saying we are not supporting it, and others are saying no, we are not going to. We are going to punish the guy. So there's a lot of confusion even in the ruling party relating to this. Clearly, there doesn't seem to be a decision that has been made by Cabinet, but more importantly, the Agriculture Ministry, which is supposed to really, announce what the situation is, does not seem to have been consulted. So it appears to be.
So should this be under the remit of the Trade Ministry or the Agriculture Ministry?
It's supposed to be Agriculture Ministry.
Agriculture Ministry.
Yes.
So how come
they are supposed to advise Cabinet? There will be a deficit. We expect 40 million bags annually. Should there be a shortfall, and we've gone to 30 million bags, they advise the government we need 10 million bags, and then the Cabinet now makes a appropriate decision in terms of the funding and in terms of how the 10 will be spread out. You remember even the time of Kiunjuri, there were attempts to do the same thing, and it was shut down eventually, and the government said there was no need to buy because the farmers insisted they have the maize. So this is a situation where the maize is available, the harvest is happening next month, and we are announcing. So it is not. There's nothing. It doesn't make an economic sense. Absolutely.
Let me just ask you, because you sit also on the board of NCPB. But I think you can tell us, do we have maize in the silos first of all, and this decision, did it surprise you?
Let me tell you, there are a number of factors that play into this debate. First of all, what Bilo is saying about
let me sort out your mic. I think it's making a lot of noise. I think it's fallen inside there. Can I just be hearing from Excel and Iraqi, then we'll come to you briefly.
This is an interesting debate.
Just hold on, because it's...
This is an interesting debate because GMO, as somebody said, has been there for quite some time. We have been doing a lot of research to modify the crops to make them maybe more productive, more disease resistant. But when we talk about importing GMOs, a lot of political emotions come in for two reasons. One is the science of it. There's a lot of disinformation about what GMOs are about. And that scientists can explain to us. They can come out and explain to us why GMOs are better than traditional foods. Mm-hmm. The second problem is the market, the economics of it. One of the biggest fears about GMO is not so much the science of it, but the marketing or the economic part of it. That by using GMO, somebody can control the whole supply chain. Now, when I was a young boy, we would get maize from the farm and use the same maize to plant the next season. But with GMOs, you may not use the same crops to plant for the next season. So you may have to go to the market and buy new seeds to plant the next season. So clearly our farmers are going to be now controlled by somebody else and not the natural cycles. And that's a big fear. So if you look at the economic part of it, there's a good reason to be concerned. But coming to importing maize, I'm perplexed because everybody in Kenya is saying we're harvesting maize. Why importing more? And the rules of supply and demand are going to come in. That if we have a lot of maize in the market, it logically follows that somebody should be buying it so that at the end of the day, the price of maize flour goes down. But now we're even importing more, which means that the price of maize in these farms that are just about to be harvested will even go deeper. So the farmers will be in even deeper problems. But I cannot understand why you are importing maize when there's maize. And you're not being told, for example, who is the owner of the ship that landed so soon after the rule was lifted or after the permission was given to import GMO maize. I think we need more information about where it is coming from, who is the owner of that ship, who gave the authority. Because as per now, when people say when we see the cabinet is not aware, when the Minister of Agriculture says it's not aware, then who is aware? And I think one of the things we are looking for in the government is transparency. So that if we have the right information, we can make decisions as voters, as farmers, as MPs, as all the stakeholders in the country's economy. So I want more information about GMO, importers, where they are getting from, who gave the permission. Then we can now have a more solid debate.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Back to you, James Bro.
What I was saying is, and everybody's saying the farmers are about to harvest, but every day people need to eat. And I think that's where we need to make a rationalized decision. When the CS for Trade, Moses Kuria, talked about importation of GMOs, for me it sounded like a desperate call because there is a shortage of maize. There is no doubt about that. That's why the price of unga has refused to go down. In fact, if you are following the price of maize, right now it's on the upward trajectory. The local millers are buying a sack for now 5,400 or upwards of that. It should be much lower than that per bag of maize of 90 kilos. So when you are being promised that tomorrow there'll be a good harvest, but you need the food today. So really, it's a very thin line between what do we need to do immediately now, because there is food demand for today, tomorrow, until the harvest is done. Now, when you say that there is a lot of maize, again, I want to say sometimes it's theory. Farmers have, if there is any maize that they're having, why are they not selling it to the millers? There is also an element of hoarding of this maize by the farmers, so that they do not want to release it now. They are hoping that the upward trajectory of the price is going to continue, so that they hoard and sell when the price is at its highest. Meaning they are also punishing this country. So for me, I think there is no solution to hunger other than putting the food on the table. If it means bringing maize from outside so that the farmers can unlock their maize, so be it. But really, it is also mischievous of the farmers to be hoarding. If there is any maize, it should be with the millers or it should be in the market. But if you go around now, all the maize that is being milled, a lot of it is imported from the neighboring countries, from Tanzania, from Zambia, from Malawi. That is the truth. So we must also stop going around in circles hiding behind. There is hunger, yes. We are dealing with a disaster. The whole country is suffering. We used to have 18 African countries. Now they've gone up to 21.
So make me understand. So
yes.
the protest is about that. Is it about the lead time between now and the harvest time, or we already have the maize on the ground?
There is no maize. There is no maize
that
on the ground as such.
No,
are you sure?
Look at today's report by the PS in the Ministry of Agriculture.
Yes.
No, I'm saying, sorry, below. I'm saying, when you talk about the imported maize, it's not yet in the country. In this country,
no, we're not talking about imported. We're talking
local
maize. We have
maize.
Maize on the ground, or we're waiting for the harvest?
There is local maize that is still in the shambas that has not been harvested. But meanwhile, do you wait for
is that so?
No.
Yes.
There is maize. You are saying that it is expensive. 1, 2, you are saying it's being hoarded.
Yeah.
3, you are saying it's not harvested. Which one? I think is because
no.
What the PS is saying today. This is the PS agriculture. You see, maize is there in the country. The thing is about So there's no shortage of maize.
No. There is shortage of maize if it's not yet turned into food. That is all I'm saying. Yes, there is maize in the shamba that is not yet harvested.
No, you from the board and the PSAs, there's maize. It seems there should be complementarity between.
I am saying there is maize. There is maize. I'm not saying there's no maize. There is maize, but is it food yet? It's in the shambas. It has not been harvested. It has not been. You know, the process of, for example, making unga, which is the staple food for all of us, is that maize has to be matured. It has to mature and dry and get milled. Now, if that has not happened, today you need a meal on the table.
You know, Dibal, if you today, the ministry responsible for this thing is agriculture. They're saying there's a lot of maize. The farmers are saying they're stuck with maize, nobody's buying. The issue, of course, is price. Yes. 1. 2, the second issue is cash flow. Yeah. We know, I mean, with respect to Marui, that cereal board is not buying maize. The government is not buying maize because they don't have money. That's the bottom line. Everyone knows about it. Now, millers are businessmen. They'll buy the maize which is cheapest. So if you've got maize in Eldoret, which is 5,000, and they get another one from across the Tanzania here, which has come in at 4,000, they'll go for the cheapest. Yes. But the issue is, for us, the issue is there maize in the country? Yes. Are the farmers complaining? Yes. Are they suffering? Yes, they're suffering. And then to make the matter worse, if we import now another 10 million from outside, even the one they are due to harvest next year will all go to waste.
Yeah, but the truth is, then as a farmer, and this I'm saying full glare of the media houses, if you're a farmer and you find your price out, get your price right.
I think we're in a difficult position.
Is that the issue of pricing? Is this the issue of hoarding? What is the main problem?
The speculations. It's a combination.
Can we just take a short break right now? When we circle back, of course, we shall look at this deeply. We have Na Kenya leader Martha Karua, who she says on Twitter that the maize importation is a get-rich-quick medium for
it can't be anything else.
Served few and not a means to address the food crisis. Maize, source of daily meals for a majority of Kenyans. Two-wheeler dealers get a get-rich-quick medium imported often needlessly at the expense of the local farmers. This is what she tweeted. Ships docking with consignment of maize before rules of importations are known, and when local farmers are harvesting, she said the importation of maize was ill-timed and will have far-reaching consequences on farmers. You need to grab a copy of the Standard today for that story. We take a short break. When we circle back, we look at it. While we're splitting hairs on it, is there any truth that we do not have maize in the country as it is, or we're waiting harvest, so the lead time has to be covered by the importation? We'll take a short break. We'll circle back with more.